Have you ever worked very hard on something, thinking that you did a decent job, to only find out later that you missed something extremely crucial? In my last video, I told you guys about this crazy experiment that I ran on myself. I described in details how it was structured, I shared the data I collected, and in the end, I revealed the results of this experiment. But then I realized something very important was missing. I only talked about numbers, but didn't show you what matters the most, chess itself. So I decided to make another video, this one, in which I leave all the data aside and show you what my progress looked like directly on the battlefield. By the way, if you want to know more about that experiment, how I structured the whole training and how much elo I gained from it, I leave a link to that video in the description box down below, or just wait till the end of this video and a clickable tile is going to appear on the end screen. In order to be faithful to the truth, I decided to show you the very last game of the experiment, the 365th game that I played. The one that, theoretically speaking, is backed up by all the knowledge and experience that I've accumulated along the way. But before jumping into the game analysis itself, let me introduce a little challenge for you guys. I want you to try to guess 3 things. The rating I had when I played this game, you'll see that I hid all the ratings on the website. If you watched my latest video, you know why and how. The accuracy with which I played, and the game rating that chess.com gave to it. So pay close attention to the whole game and feel free to drop your guesses in the comment section. It would be very cool to see who can guess correctly all the 3 elements. Of course, I'll reveal the solution after the game analysis, so make sure to stick around till the end. Alright, enough with the yapping. Let's dive into the game. So here we are. I'm playing as black, and my opponent is a player from India. And let's see what happens. He plays e4. I'm a e5 player, so knight f3, knight c6, knight c3. Okay, so here we have a 3 knights opening, and I like to go for a 4 knights game. So now white can pick the Italian variation with bishop c4 or the Scotch variation with d4. But my opponent here decided to go for the Spanish variation, bishop b5. In this position, I like to choose the classical variation, so I play bishop c5. And now my opponent instantly traded their bishop for my knight. I was very happy already to have the bishop pair, so here, of course, I take back with the d-pawn. And my opponent here castled. I just want to show you guys that this, another move could have been like knight takes e5, but that pawn is not really hanging because there is a cool continuation. Maybe some of you might be thinking about this move that is threatening checkmate on f2, but actually it doesn't work because white can defend that point with knight d3. And now this pawn is not hanging because it's defended also by their knight on c3. So yeah, this is like a typical position of the 4 knights game in the Spanish variation. And so actually after knight takes e5, this is all theory, of course. There is a nice sacrifice. Bishop takes f2 check. King takes, and now comes a fork with the queen. So queen d4 check. King e1, and now black can take the piece back. So the material is equal, but white cannot castle anymore. Anyway, my opponent didn't play knight takes e5, but they simply castled, and that's cool. Now I continue with queen e7. I wanted to defend this pawn. Now that they castled, they didn't have the trick anymore. And technically the best move here would be bishop g4, pinning this knight. So that's another way to defend this pawn, of course. If I pin the knight, then this is not hanging anymore. But I didn't like this position because after h3, I would have played bishop h5, and it's totally playing, and yeah, I'm actually like it's minus 0.5. But yeah, I just wanted to postpone the development and of the bishop and see where I could develop it to, maybe another square that could have been more interesting for me. So I simply defend the pawn with my queen e7, and now my opponent attacks the center with d4. I take it, of course, and they take back with knight takes d4. Okay, so now I castle. This pawn is attacked twice by my knight and my queen, and is defended only once. But if I take it, if I take it, maybe I had like problems with the pin, with the rook on my queen and on my king. I didn't want to have those kind of problems. So first I castle, and now I'm gonna think about this pawn. And here white played this move, bishop e3. Okay, now there is, I can simply win a pawn. So there's a good move, knight takes e4, and knight takes e4, queen takes e4. Life is good because I'm simply up a pawn and I didn't do anything particular. But as Lasker said, when you see a good move, look for a better one. And actually, here I found knight g4. Which is, a great move according to the engine, but why is that? So basically, I am attacking this bishop, and I'm basically threatening to create a big weakness in white's structure. Because imagine, for example, h3, they attack my knight, and now I attack the bishop. You can see that this knight, of course, is forking the queen and the rook, so of course, but even without the fork, of course, they need to take back, and they take back with the pawn. But now look at these two pawns. It's like two isolated pawns because they're not defended by any other pawns, right? Oopsie, I'm very bad with arrows. Sorry, guys. So I meant to do this, So these two pawns are not defended, and they're isolated. So isolated, and they're doubled. So two nice targets to exploit in the endgame. So of course, this would have given me, an advantage. It gives me minus 1.3 already. And so an alternative could be for white to move the bishop, but actually that's like an even bigger mistake, because now I would have rook d8, pinning their knight on their queen, right? And what now? Maybe they can add a defender. So knight ce2. So we see that now the knight and the queen are defending the pinned piece. But I can first trade bishop takes d4. Now knight takes d4, but now I've transferred the pin from one piece to another. Now this knight is pinned still, and I can attack it with a pawn, right? Put pressure on the pinned piece, and now I'm attacking it. So I go for c5. Now what can black do? I don't know. If they can try to attack my knight, so instead of defending this, they counterattack. That's a very good way to play, but I can win a tempo. So there is a cool Zwischenzug here with rook takes d4, and I'm attacking their queen. They need to move the queen, for example, queen e2, and now I can save my knight with with knight e5. So just see that in this line, I'm just up a piece, and I'm minus 3.4. Amazing. So moving the bishop is not possible. And of course, there was another move that I saw, and that's how the game went, and it's knight f5. So they counterattacked my queen, but on f5, the knight can be captured by my bishop. So I decided to give away my bishop pair advantage. So bishop takes, because now the continuation is very cool. Now they trade bishops to attack my queen in the meanwhile, so they also go for a Zwischenzug as well. But I can simply take back with my queen, and now when they take the bishop here to go back to an even material situation, actually, I don't know if my opponent saw it, but I just win the piece. So queen takes f5, and I'm sorry, not the piece, but the pawn. So now I'm up a pawn. And life is totally good. Like, look, the position is already minus 1.4. And now the game went on with h3. They wanted white attacked my knight, and I'm happy to move it back. So knight f6. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, please like and subscribe to support the channel. For you, it's free, but for me, it really would mean a lot. All right, back to the video. And here, White just did a move that is simply wrong, because they basically offered a queen trade, and that's very bad. You shouldn't trade queens here, because I already have a material advantage. I'm up a pawn, so you don't want to simplify the position and give me a winning endgame. And especially in this situation, you don't want to do that, because let's see what happened in the game. Of course, I'm super happy to trade, because look at here. C takes d3, and now I have two advantages. I'm not only up a pawn, so I have a material advantage, but also look at this pawn on the white side, right? It's isolated again, and it's going to be my target. It's a big weakness that I'm going to exploit in the endgame. So here we are, and let's see. Rook a d8, of course, I involved the other rook to the game, and they try to defend the pawn, of course. And here I go for rook d4. My goal is to blockade the weakness of my opponent. In this case, it's the pawn, so I blockade the pawn, and then I attack it. That's what you should do. And in this situation, of course, I saw that white had knight e2, counter-attacking me, and in that case, I would have just moved my rook back to d7, so that then I could double my rooks on the d file. But, you know, I had the feeling that maybe my opponent wasn't that familiar with these positional principles, let's say, so I tried to blockade the pawn with rook d4 straight away. And actually, they didn't counterattack the rook, but they just moved the other rook to e1, so rook f e1. And I'm happy to double my rooks, and now I'm attacking the pawn, right? So two rooks are attacking the pawn that is defended only once. And of course, they defended with rook e3. And now I go for knight d5. I'm happy to trade pieces because, again, I'm up a pawn, and I'm happy to go to a rook endgame right now. So they trade, of course, they accept the trade, and here I play rook 4 takes d5. Of course, I don't take with the pawn, because then my two rooks wouldn't be connected anymore, and yeah, I don't have double pawns anymore, but that's super okay. In this position is not a problem at all, and it's having the two rooks connected is much more important. And yeah, and of course I don't take with my rook. Rook a takes d5 is a huge blunder, because there is a back rank mate. So yeah, the only move that works here is taking with this rook. Rook 4 takes d5, and now what happens? My opponent, now that's a good move, rook e7. They know that they should move the rook to the 7th rank. In my case, I need to move them to the 2nd rank to maximize their strength, right? And here, what I play is rook 5 d7. So I move my rook from here, and I offer a rook trade that I'm happy to do. Of course, again, this pawn was not defended anymore, right? Because the rook moved to e7, but I cannot take it because it's not really hanging. I'm just going to show you this line that is just extremely bad, because after rook takes d3, I just hung a rook, because this rook is always blocked on the 8th rank, because I need to defend my king from the back rank mate. So let's just see that this is, of course, losing, because I lose the game. And another option, of course, like, yeah, offering a rook trade like this is totally stupid, because yeah, that's mate in 1. So again, the right move here is rook 5 d7. And what my opponent does is to retreat their rook back to e3. And so this is, of course, good for me, because they don't have a strong rook that is threatening something. And now I go for king f8. So this is very important, because I don't want to have any problems with the back rank mate anymore. And I move my king towards the center, and it's going to be active in the endgame, right? Another option, you know, like, it's also like h6 to avoid any back rank mate problem, but the king would still be left kind of behind. So I think it's much better just to move it towards the center with king f8. So my opponent does the same, king f1, and now I play c5. So this pawn is defended twice, is attacked twice, and I want to attack it once. more. So king e2, and now I play c4. Now, my opponent plays g3, which is kind of good actually, because of course they cannot take my pawn. That's a big mistake because their rook would be hanging. And at the same time, they cannot push this pawn also, because then I can simply take it, right? Because this, I can trade rooks, and now there is no background mate anymore. So that's good. So they play g3, and I'm happy to take the pawn. With check, of course, c takes d3, check, and now they takes back with the rook. And here I just wanted to trade everything. So rook takes, rook takes, rook takes d3, king takes d3. I was very happy to go from a rook endgame into a pawn endgame. And I gotta say that pawn endgames are particularly tricky, because one wrong move and you lose all the advantage you have and you can lose the game. But I still had like 5 minutes on the clock with this kind of pawn endgame. I'm up a pawn. I was happy to play it, and I just knew that I had to play very accurately. And so yeah, king e7, of course. I want to activate my king, and my opponent goes for a4. Here I have the material advantage, as I said, and I just need to apply the basic important principle of a double attack. This is an endgame principle in which I create two main threats, and the opponent cannot defend from both of them. So what I want to do is that here I have basically a 3 versus 2, 3 pawns versus 2 on the queen side. And so this is going to be my attack. And then on the other side, on the king side, I have 3 versus 3, but it's like my king can go and attack this fixed pawn. Like I want to fix their pawns and then attack them. So this is the idea that I have in my mind. I let these pawns come ahead, and then I fix them and I can attack them. And in the meanwhile, here I push my pawns to create a pass pawn, because I have a pawn majority there. So let's see what happens. Actually, here I go for king d6, because I want to also, I don't need to rush my king to the king side, because yeah, I just let white come further. In the meanwhile, I want to take some space and keep, their king away. So yeah, white plays king c4, and I play a5. Now, they start pushing the pawns on the king side. It's super okay, because I go for c6, now g4, and now b6. h4, g6, now the pawns are getting closer, so I start blocking them. And my opponent plays king d4. Now I play h5. I take my time to understand that here this is the best move, because I want to fix the position, and that's how you can do that. Now my opponent can either play g5, and as you can see, this pawn is blocked, this pawn is blocked, and this is also blocked, because if he goes ahead, then it's going to be taken, and this pawn is still, cannot come forward easily, because it's going to be taken by this other pawn. So this is a position that I really like. Or if they didn't play g5, if they don't play g5, then they take, and as it happened in the game, I take back. So now these two pawns this pawn is fixed. This is like a frozen situation, and this can come in the front, but can come forward, but it's going to be blocked anyway. One move that I wanted to show is that here the right move is h5 and not g5, because like this, white can take with the f pawn. F takes g5, or g takes h5 actually. And I still have a big advantage, but just for on a principle level, I just give up a pawn, and they can have they have the chance to create a pass pawn, and they just give white a counterplay, and I shouldn't do that. My king is still here, so there is no problem, but that's why playing like that, right? I have my plan clear, right? So I just block the position, and that's good. So this is what happens, and white goes with f5, and now I can finally play b5. I'm happy to trade, and now I have this 2 pawns versus 1, and as you can see, this pawn is these 2 pawns are controlling these 2 squares, and also my king is controlling these squares, so their king cannot come forward, and now they play f6. I'm super happy now. This is totally frozen, and I play a4. Now they move their king back, and I go forward with king e5. Now you can see that now white goes to king c3, and they want to attack these 2 pawns, and I'm okay with that, because now you remember the double attack principle, right? Here I have 2, now I still have a pawn majority, and here, now that the situation is totally frozen, I can use my king to attack these, take the pawn, and now promote one of these 2 pawns. Of course, I'm going to attack this because I'm closer, and promote my f pawn. That's what happens. King takes f6, and they play king b4. Now I get out of the way, king e5, and I'm happy to push the pawn. King takes b5, of course, that's good, because you attack this pawn, and then they can attack the other pawn, but that's just, too slow, because I play f5, and now it comes closer, king c4, but yeah, king e4, I just keep with the opposition, the king out of the way, and here white plays b4, and I take en passant. It's always very funny when there is this icon here, so it makes me giggle when I see that. Yes, probably a lot of people don't understand what is going on, so they need to clarify the situation. Anyway, I know the secret move of chess, and I take en passant. But even if this is just a precaution, but it doesn't really matter, because look here, if I don't take en passant, I have f4, and then b5, f3. Let's see it all. b6, f2, b7, and now I promote with check. f1 equals queen, check, and I'm totally winning. So this pawn has been too slow. Anyway, I take en passant. I don't want to risk anything, and they take. Okay, and now I go for king e3, king c2, but there's really nothing that can be done here, and I will surely promote my pawn. They can just move the king around. f1 equals queen check, and now the game is totally lost for white. And I don't know, they just don't resign. Maybe they were. I still have 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 23, and also I have an increment of 10 seconds because it's a 15 plus 10 game. So there's, I don't understand. Maybe they were hoping in a stalemate, or I don't know. Anyway, so I move my queen f3, and I just don't give white any counterplay whatsoever. So they need to move the king. I take the last pawn. They move the king, queen g4, and now I start pushing the pawn. You can see that the white can't do anything right now. I'm very patient, so okay, I'm happy to promote this pawn and to checkmate them with a queen and a rook, or 2 queens, of course. Of course, even this pawn is useless because I can combine these 2 and win like that. But since they don't want to resign, then I wanted to take my time and promote also the other pawn, while white can only shuffle back and forth on these 3 squares. So that's what they do. And yeah, h2, king h8, and right when I'm about to promote and checkmate them, my opponent resigned. Well, that was it. What do you think about it? I am extremely satisfied about this game because I loved how it flowed almost seamlessly from one phase to the other. I had a clear understanding of how the pieces were working in the opening. Then in the middle game, I tried to obtain some advantages. I was considering having the bishop pair, then doubling my opponent's pawns, and eventually I got a material advantage. And my opponent let me capitalize it by trading queens and going to a rook endgame where I knew my way around because I knew how to exploit my opponent's weaknesses. And in the end, I traded rooks and switched to a pawn endgame where I was up a pawn and I simply needed to play precisely in order to convert the advantage into a win. And one last consideration before the big revelation. I chose this game only because it was the very last game of my experiment. As I said, it was the 365th game. If you don't believe me, go check my profile and count. And it happened to be a game in which I played quite well. I don't want to create a fake image of myself or of the way I play, and I don't mean to deliberately show just the best part of me, as it often happens on social media. So some of my games are good and I'm very proud of them, and some other games don't go well at all and I'm even ashamed of them. So that's how it is for me, and it's probably the same for most chess enthusiasts out there. So yeah, I feel like my chess understanding is decent, but still poor, and there's still a lot of room for improvement. However, what I'm deeply happy about is that before my chess experiment, I would have never been able to play a game like this. While playing, I felt like I knew what was going on and I knew where to go. And this kind of awareness, even if it's occasional, definitely pays off for all the hard work. Alright, now it's time to keep my promise. Are you ready for the big revelation? So I asked you guys to guess my rating, the game accuracy, and the game precision. So here they are. So the rating I had when I played this game, actually after I won this game, was 1669. And about the accuracy, here we can see that it's 95.4. And now, yeah, let's just check the moves. Like, yeah, 1 great move, 4 book moves, 36 best moves, nice. 9 excellent, 3 good, 2 inaccuracies, 0 mistakes, 1 miss, and 0 blunder. Okay, and the game rating is 2350. Wow, I think I've never got a 2350. Nice. So then there are these icons for opening, middle game, and end game. This is like the icon of the best move, I think, yeah, and then great move and great move. But yeah, I don't know what they really mean. Anyway, that's it. Did you manage to guess them correctly? Now, let me be clear about something. I don't know how the game accuracy and the game rating are calculated, so as a consequence, I don't know how important they are. Probably not that important, but you know, the numbers are good, so that can't be a bad sign, right? I have noticed that in general, it's easier to get a higher accuracy when it's a short game. Imagine that your opponent blunders in the opening and then resigns. And you know, in that case, you don't even have the time to make bad moves. So you do get a super high accuracy, but that's only because your opponent played much worse than you. And about the game rating, to be honest, I have no idea whatsoever how it's calculated. The only thing I know is that it depends on your real rating. So for example, if this very game was played exactly in the same way by a 400 rated player, by a 1400 rated player, or by a 2400 rated player, then the game rating given to it by chess.com would be much, much different. Don't know why though. So yeah, my knowledge in this regard is very limited. So if you guys know more about it, please let me know in the comments, because I would love to learn more thanks to your help. The last video received a lot of comments and it was amazing to share opinions with each other. So really hope the same is gonna happen with this one.